What we need now is a professional test rider to go out and make sure it works.
Welcome back to Moto Photo Adventures, everybody. I'm Jason, and today we're talking about adjusting a brake pedal and all of the ramifications that come with it. However, before we start, brakes are very important, especially for the car that's behind you in traffic. If you're ever in an accident and you need somebody to represent you, scmotolawyer.com 1-855-GET-MOTO. That's Rick Stewart. Now let's talk about brakes on the motorcycle. Recently, I put in a lowering peg from Bradley Power Sports and a brake pedal as well. Because we lowered this brake pedal, I now have to adjust, or lowered the brake, or the foot peg, we now have to lower the brake pedal. Let me show you real quick what it looks like if I put my foot on there. If you notice, it's way below the comfort level of my foot. So if I'm riding normally, because of the angle that my ankle and my leg is at, I have to really lift to push the brake instead of just rotating my ankle up. But I can't rotate my ankle far enough, so we're gonna have to lower this. If you notice, it is a good 3/4 of an inch above here. Now, here's the issue. And I've spoken to Bradley about this, and he said he's never run into this problem, but let's take a look at what's going on. There's a bar here on the TW200 that links to a peg on the brake pedal and then runs up to a spring which is connected to a plunger that is inside the mechanism that when pulled, it activates the brake light. Well, when you put on a lowering peg and then you try to lower the brake pedal, this is not long enough. So if you lower it using the lowering bolt here, even the slightest little tweak will ignite the brake light, so it will be always on. Well, I talked to Bradley, and he doesn't know what's up with that. He's never encountered it before. I have straightened this bar that used to run kind of in a curvy pattern that mimicked the topography of the engine until it hooked to the pin on the brake pedal. I've straightened it, which gave me about 1/4 of an inch more, but it's still not enough. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to replace this spring that gives me a little extra length, bend this back to a position where it's tight, then adjust the brake back here so that once this is lowered to a position that is comfortable for me, it will be level and not activate the brake light. That's the theory. Let's see what happens. Well, the first solution didn't work. The Chinese springs that I bought from Amazon are way too weak to do this. We considered doubling them up to make them stronger, but this one is too long, and this one is too short, and the original is just right. So here's what we did. We just unsprung one of the springs to give us a little bit more room. Unwound it, tightened this back up, put a bend in this bar in an appropriate place to take up some slack so that the hook still stays down here. Adjusted the rear brake to accommodate for where we lowered the brake lever, and now you will see it's even. Okay, well, the brake light works. It does not stay on. The spring is not sprung. The hook down at the bottom still stays hooked. It was not the solution that we thought it was going to be. However, we did come up with a solution. If you then run into a problem where you're lowering your foot peg and your brake pedal is in the wrong position, you might have to do a little inventive, creative work. Unsprung the spring. I'm Jason. This is Moto Photo. This is a T-Dub. These are Bradley Performance parts. We'll see you on the next one. Moto.